You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Didn't think that it could feel any less like baseball season than watching the childhood team of mine be eliminated from postseason play earlier this week. It is now snowing today. So, yep.
It is snowing in Denver, Colorado. We should tell people where you actually are.
Yeah, true. I guess if you're a nerd who follows this podcast, you know that. But yeah, it is currently snowing in Denver, Colorado. I'm recording this podcast at 12:45-ish on Wednesday, October 10th. It is snowing. The dog and I went outside earlier today, and it was kind of like rain mixed with snow. And I was like, all right, maybe this will stop. Won't have to deal with it. And it is now like full out snowing.
I just imagine Leica giving you a look like, is it like this all the time?
Yeah, she hates it. She hates the cold. She hates the rain, even like when it's warm out. But when it's cold and there's precipitation in the air, she just wants nothing to do with it, which is fine because neither do I. So, that works out okay. But, yeah, no, not a day for it, as Todd Van Steensel would say. So, hey, with that, we welcome you into this latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast from MiLBY.com. My name is Tyler Vaughn in Denver, Colorado. Sam Dykstra is in balmy New York City, from what I hear. Hello, Sam.
Yeah, it's upper 70s here. I went to Game 4 of the American League Division Series last night, which, if any of you watched that, was one of the most exciting games I've ever been to in person, and one of the most anxiety-inducing ninth innings I've ever seen. But yeah, it was weird sitting at that game because I'm so used to watching postseason baseball, up here in the Northeast, and thinking like everybody's in overcoats and you can see everybody's breath, and it just paints a picture. And last night, everybody's in T-shirts, a lot of people in shorts. It just felt off. But the baseball counted all the same. It was really fun to watch, and it'll be really cool to continue to watch. Now that we're down to 4 teams here, the Brewers and the Dodgers in the NL, and the Astros and the Red Sox here in the AL. But that's the major leagues. We're here to talk about the minor leagues, this is one of my more fun episodes we get to do every year, I would say.
Yeah, this one's always good, as this week's episode is number 181 of the Show Before the Show podcast. And wherever you found us, thanks for tuning in. You can check us out at MiLB.com/podcast. All of our past episodes are there, as well as Apple Podcasts and Google Play and everywhere else. And you can give us a rating and a review and a subscription if your service allows you to do so. And you can get in touch with us as well, podcast@MiLB.com, with your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. I actually got a couple emails this week, which we may get a chance to get to as well. But we have a lot to get to with category number 1 in Strike One today, and that is the 2018 MiLBY Awards are here. That's really our only strike today. It's not even a full-on 3 strikes thing. It's kind of a different episode because we've got the Arizona Fall League, which started yesterday. We'll discuss that. But we will also break down every category in the MiLBYs. You can vote for the best in minor league baseball in 2018, the Minor League Baseball Yearly Awards, the MiLBYs. And there are a lot of good ones there are a lot of categories that are going to be difficult to decide. I think that's kind of what I've narrowed it down to from the MiLBYs. Like, I know even we did our staff vote, and even our staff vote winners, like, I normally fall pretty much in line across the board. This year, I think I had different selections for like almost half the categories, which doesn't generally happen.
Yeah, no, it was kind of fun to see all the results come in from our staff votes. And we should just point out, we already have a staff vote just because we're going to be doing features on our staff winners. Those will be coming out in a couple weeks. But you guys still get to vote. There's still a fan vote winner. They're put next to each other side by side. It means just as much, really, who wins the fan vote as who won our staff vote. So, yeah, you guys get to have your say. We already had ours, and we'll release the results of that in the coming weeks. But yeah, going through, even getting some of these categories, because, Ben was in charge of promo of the year. I was in charge of a lot of the team, prospect, player, pitcher, all those categories that we'll talk about here in a second. Getting some of those down to 10 was really tough. And then having to choose and rank the top 3 was really difficult. And so I can imagine what it's going to be like for some people out there. Obviously, a lot of people are going to vote for, their favorite minor league team or their favorite organization. I get that, but I'm going to be really interested to see how this shakes out, and we'll kind of go category by category here and lay things out for you guys.
We will. And we'll get started with top starting pitcher. And these are your 10 nominees. Sam and I are wearing our tuxedos, by the way. We give our update of that every year as to whether or not we are wearing tuxedos. And every year we're wearing tuxedos, or you have to trust that we are for this award-themed podcast episode. Here they are, the 10 nominees for top starting pitcher. I guess I should check and make sure that it's 10. It's actually 10, so that's good.
It is 10.
Dylan Cease, the Chicago White Sox. Michael King, the New York Yankees organization. Dean Kramer from the Baltimore Orioles. Zach Lowther from the Baltimore Orioles. Jesus Luzardo from the Oakland Athletics. Chris Paddock from the San Diego Padres. David Parkinson of the Philadelphia Phillies. Denny Reyes from the Boston Red Sox. Patrick Sandoval from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and Touki Toussaint of the Atlanta Braves. Sam, give me some of your standouts from these.
Yeah, this was an interesting mix in terms of guys who had the best statistical years and guys we just talked about so much. So Jesus Luzardo, Touki Toussaint, I think kind of go into that category of felt like we were talking about them week in, week out. The end stats might not be at least stellar compared to somebody like David Parkinson. David Parkinson led minor league baseball kind of quietly in ERA. He posted a 1.45 ERA in 124 and a third innings pitched. Back that up with 141 strikeouts. Just a stellar year. If he's doing that at the major league level, we're talking about him as an ace. But we deal here in prospects, and he is, he is a good prospect in his own right. Kind of a breakout one in that way. But compare him to somebody like Luzardo or Toussaint, this stuff doesn't exactly stand out exactly the same. So, but yeah, that's what I like about this, is that it gets us a chance to not only just talk about top prospects who obviously are our focus, but talk about some of these guys who did go a little bit under the radar, but finished the year on top of a lot of leaderboards. Chris Paddock, I think, actually is a good Venn diagram for that, a kind of middle guy, obviously a top 100 prospect. Spent the year, this was his first year back from Tommy John surgery, only pitched 90 innings between Class A Advanced Lake Elsinore and Double A San Antonio, but finished with a 2.10 ERA between those two stops, 120 strikeouts, only 8 walks, which is insane. For anybody who read my Toolshed piece on Chris Paddock and FIP, you'll know what went into that. Just a killer changeup, really good fastball. They want him to develop the breaking ball, allow him to make that next jump. But just stellar control, swing and miss stuff. Really, really cool to see. So as you go through this list, there might be some of the big names you'll know. Michael King might not have been on that list. Now he is, given the year he had with a 1.79 ERA in the Yankee system. Again, this is one of those categories where I'll be interested to see how things go, because if you define it as which prospect had the best year, maybe you're looking at Jesus Luzardo, maybe you're looking at a Dylan Cease or a Chris Paddock. If you're looking at who just had the best year as a starting pitcher in the minor leagues, okay, I think you have to go in the direction of David Parkinson. But that's the thing about voting is, you're choosing your own path. We're not defining it for you. It's how you want to vote yourself. So a lot of really interesting choices in this category to start us off.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's the theme of the day today. You can vote however you choose. It's all anonymous. This is the democratic process, ladies and gentlemen, and your vote counts.
Although I will say this. If you want to tweet at us,
if you want to let us know, voted.
Yeah, this isn't like voting booths where selfies are illegal. No, please show us you're voting. Yeah, we would love to see it. And if you disagree with something we say here in the upcoming categories, and you want to show us who you voted for and tell us why, we gladly welcome it. We'll put you out to the universe, retweet you, whatever. There are just so many ways you could go on this. I'm really interested to see what you guys do.
Top offensive player, a shameless plug. We're recording this on Wednesday. Coming up on Thursday, our first dude on this list will be the first subject of our first Arizona Fall League player profile for 2018. That's Peter Alonso, the New York Mets organization. Alonso, a terrific season with AA Binghamton and AAA Las Vegas, currently with Scottsdale in the AFL. They got started last night. Bobby Dahlbeck from the Boston Red Sox organization. Casey Golden of the Colorado Rockies system. This guy named Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. who I would think has a good chance to win this. He's a nominee, as you may have expected. Ibandel Isabel from the Cincinnati Reds, one of the co-champs in the minor league home run race in 2018, along with Peter Alonso. Eloy Jimenez from the Chicago White Sox. Alex Kirilloff of the Minnesota Twins, who was just named the Twins minor league organizational player of the year not too long ago. Nathaniel Lowe or Lau? Which one do we decide for Nathaniel?
He's Lowe.
He's Lowe.
Brandon Lau.
And then Brandon is Lau, and it's spelled the same.
Yes.
That's right. Couldn't remember which was which. Kyle Tucker of the Houston Astros and Taylor Ward of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Sam, I think this conversation begins and ends with Vlad, but there are a lot of, if not for Vlad, this is a wide open field.
Right. And that's the thing, is that I wish we could see who's going to be second. I wish there was kind of secondary voting. When I studied abroad in Ireland, you got to rank your candidates, which I always thought was really interesting. And that's how they vote. This is just, you vote for one player. So I think Vlad is going to run away with this. But if you chose not to vote for Vlad, and I think the reason you would do that is because he only played 95 games this year in the minor leagues. Left knee injury held him back for a good portion of the year. Still put up crazy numbers, obviously, when he was healthy, hitting .381, 20 homers, 20 doubles, 78 RBIs in those 95 games. Just crazy numbers, historic stuff. Was flirting with 400 right up until the last couple weeks. You would really have to stretch, I think, to not pick him. But maybe you go with somebody like Peter Alonso, who, again, was somebody we talked about week in and week out, going to the fall league. We all thought he would be in the majors, or deserved to be in the majors at the very least, given the way he dominated AA Binghamton and AAA Las Vegas. Maybe you go with Ibandel Isabel because he hit 36 homers, but that came in the Florida State League, which is now an FSL record. Maybe you give him some credit for that. That'd be really interesting. Maybe you're a bigger fan of Eloy Jimenez. Vlad had a good year in terms of slugging and hitting. Eloy's a little bit more of a slugger than Vlad was this year. How that goes, portrays going forward for the two of them, would be really interested to see who ends up with the more career home runs. But as it stands, I would say Eloy had a better power tool this year than Vlad did. How do you give? Do you give Eloy a little extra credit for that? Also spending a little bit longer time at AAA Charlotte. Maybe you do that. So lots of different ways to go here. We have Kyle Tucker and Taylor Ward, who put up killer numbers in the PCL. Maybe the PCL is an offensive environment. Maybe you don't want to go that way. But I would also like to point out for Kyle Tucker, at the very least, 24 homers, 20 stolen bases, doing things that aren't just PCL environment reliant. And Taylor Ward, kind of in a little bit Kyle Tucker light, 14 homers, 18 stolen bases, but it was actually had a higher average and a higher OBP than Tucker. So I would love to see how people rank these 1 to 10, but at this point it feels like it's very much Vlad Jr. and then everybody else.
So you can still vote in that category. Don't make it like the Simpsons episode where Bart thought that he was going to be named class president just because everybody liked him, and then nobody voted for him because they assumed everybody else was voting for him, and then Martin won. Not the first time that I've drawn that comparison to an election in recent years. Top relief pitcher: Travis Bergen, Toronto Blue Jays. Texas Rangers, DeMarcus Evans. Tommy Eveld of now the Miami Marlins, who was a trade acquisition this year. Caleb Frare of the Chicago White Sox. Tyler Johnson of the Chicago White Sox. Matt Pierpont of the Colorado Rockies. Colin Poche of the Tampa Bay Rays, who likewise a draft selection whose numbers are ridiculous this year. A draft selection? A trade acquisition is what I meant to say, not a draft selection. He was at one time a draft selection, but this year was traded. Travis Radke, a left-handed pitcher in the San Diego Padres system. Zach Warren, left-handed reliever in the Philadelphia Phillies system, and Austin Williams, a righty in the Washington Nationals system. There are numbers on this list. This is my category that I'll be writing up later on this month that are just, outlandish. Most numbers on this list are outlandish from these guys.
Yeah, trying to pick these guys, trying to get this list down to 10 is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Trying to decide whether you really like control from a reliever. I think it always starts with who just posted the craziest strikeout numbers. Colin Poche, you mentioned 110 strikeouts in 66 innings. That's just bonkers.
Ridiculous.
And not only did he post a 0.82 ERA, his WHIP was actually lower at 0.79.
Like how? What?
Yeah,
that's absurd.
I mean, normally your WHIP is going to be lower than your ERA, but when your ERA starts with 0.8,
With zero, exactly.
yeah, that's really, really difficult. Yeah, so we could stare at these numbers all day. I'm more interested to hear your take on this, Tyler, just because it is your category. I have breakout prospect of the year, which we'll get to later. But yeah, when you were going over these and thinking about like who you might have to write up, what else was standing out to you other than just Potch, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the strikeout numbers so much with relievers nowadays because the era of baseball that we live in where the strikeout is so heavily prized. Some of these guys, just the numbers that they put up, DeMarcus Evans, 103 strikeouts in 56 innings. Obviously, the numbers that Colin put up. Travis Radke had 91 strikeouts and 78 and a third. Zach Warren had 100 strikeouts and 56 and 2/3. That, to me, is sort of the category that carries the day, I think, when people look at these stats lines. But the overall body of work is what's so impressive from all of these guys, really. Travis Bergen had an ERA under 1. Tommy Evalds was barely over 1. Matt Pierpont went on a binge of saving games for AA Hartford. I think he's knocked a little bit because he was back in Hartford for the 3rd straight season, which is something that I'm actually planning on asking Rockies player development director Zach Wilson, because his numbers have been so good over the last few years. You kind of wonder why he hasn't been bumped up. There are not many cases like that of guys who were at levels that it seems like they've conquered and they were just kind of still there, doing great work there. A lot of guys had gone back to levels and gotten it figured out where they hadn't before. Austin Williams is a case of that. Williams was really not that good at AA in 2016, 2017. And then this year, 68 innings, 89 strikeouts, 17 walks, a 1.19 ERA, 0.84 whip. I think Colin Pache is going to be really difficult to beat because his numbers are just so absurd. But I don't think you can go wrong voting for anybody in this category.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things with this, too, is we tend to kind of lean away from using saves as this because minor league teams don't typically have a lockdown closer in terms of that. It's a little bit bullpen by committee because you want all your relievers having that experience unless there's somebody who's very clearly, the closer du jour that you're trying to bring up and make that. Like I remember the Nationals were talking about that with Coda Glover a couple of years ago. That's rarely the case. You want all of your relievers to get those high leverage situations and find out which ones can do that. So you won't find too many saves leaders on this list, but that's because of the way we define a dominant reliever is how are you doing no matter when you get the ball, not just the 9th inning.
And, if you weren't somebody who was getting those opportunities, it doesn't make your season any less remarkable. I think one category that we neglect to nominate yearly, which would just be dominated by Tommy Ewald, would be circumference of bill bend. Tommy Ewald, who's now in the Miami Marlins organization, he bends the bill of his cap. I've never seen anybody bend the bill of their cap like Tommy Ewald does. Go look up his headshot. It's like every single picture that I've seen of Tommy Ewald, his bill bend is just insane to me. I know that's what everybody was voting on.
Oh, of course, yes. I got worried there for a second that you were gonna like, yeah, there's this one category we just always overlook.
We miss every year. We always seem to forget good baseball player. That's one that we don't put out ever. But yeah, Tommy Ewald is like if you're one of those crotchety people who gets angry at guys who don't bend their bills, then Tommy is the player for you because he's an 80 grade bill bender.
Yeah, just bringing up the league average every time he steps on the mound.
Raises the curve on bill bending. Breakout prospect, Sam, your category for the 2018 MiLBY Awards, and these are the nominees: Joe Adell of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Peter Alonso, the aforementioned Mets prospect, Kevin Biggio in the Toronto Blue Jays system, Griffin Canning, and also an Angels prospect along with Adell, Wander Franco, one of the 3 baseball-playing Wanders Franco, who's in the Tampa Bay Rays system, and this one, the youngest, 17 years old. Unbelievable season for him. Josh James, who's one of my favorite interviews of the year, a pitcher in the Houston Astros organization, now 25 years old, who really made a big jump this season. Alex Kirilloff, coming off of Tommy John surgery in 2017 with the Twins. Terrific year this year. Jonathan Loaisiga in the New York Yankees system, Chris Paddock in the San Diego Padres system, and Bryce Wilson in the Atlanta Braves organization. Give us the rundown of the breakout players this year.
Yeah, in kind of similar ways to what we discussed in the other categories so far, it's how you define breakout prospect. We kind of gave you a couple different options here. Yes, I realize Joe Adell, will start at the guy at the top here, was a first-round pick last year. Saying a first-round pick performed well might not be your definition of breakout. Totally understand that. That being said, the guy did climb 3 levels in his first full season. If that's not a breakout, I don't know necessarily what is. And a couple other guys, fit that bill. Peter Alonso, people thought he would be a slugger coming into the year. He was a slugger. That being said, you probably listened to our revisitation of the preseason predictions. None of us thought he would be a Bauman Home Run Award winner. And yet he achieved that this year. Now we're talking about him as maybe one of the best first base prospects in all of baseball. Weren't quite there coming into the year, so that's a breakout for me. Kevin Biggio ended up being the Eastern League MVP, and he was completely overshadowed coming into the year at AA New Hampshire, by Vlad Jr., by Bo Bichette, by a couple other names on that team. He broke out. No, is he a top 100 prospect? Right now, no, but the Blue Jays have moved him to the outfield here in the Arizona Fall League because they want him in their lineup. They've seen enough out of him that he is now a part of their future. And, Toronto's at a crux right now. They need as many of these guys to hit, and they believe in Kevin Biggio. So that's a breakout for me. Wander Franco, I feel like our staff was kind of split on Wander Franco without giving away the vote here. I think a lot of people had him at or near the top of the list because, he was only 17 this year. He was the best player in the Appalachian League, skipped over, your circuit levels, your Dominican Summer Leagues, your Gulf Coast Leagues, got placed right in the Appalachian League, hit 351 there, 11 home runs, 7 triples, 10 doubles, 4 stolen bases, did everything well. All the reports you hear on him is that his bat is lightning quick. We're talking about him now as, whenever Vlad Jr. graduates, this is the next guy who seems to be guaranteed to hit at every level he goes to and potentially climbs quickly and maybe makes the majors before he's 20 or 21. We weren't talking about him that way in April. That's a breakout for me. How do you think about that? Because he was a big international signing, kind of in the similar way to Joe Adell. First-round pick, big international signing, some expectations there, but they exceeded them so much that I would say they broke out. Alex Kirilloff, again, a first-round pick, 2 years ago now, but did not play at all in 2017. Tommy John surgery, a lot of question marks about how is he going to come back from that. Ends up leading minor league baseball in extra base hits with 71 in 130 games. Right now, or beginning of the year, MLB.com didn't have him ranked in the top 100 because they didn't think, or they didn't know exactly what the extent of the elbow injury was going to be, what it was going to be like for him to come back. Right now, he's MLB.com's number 10 overall prospect. That's certainly a breakout. Josh James, like you mentioned, Jonathan Loaisiga, both guys who saw big league time this year. Somebody we weren't talking about in that way coming into the year. So pushing towards the majors certainly helps. Bryce Wilson also in that category. Started out the year at Class A Advanced Florida, ended up the year in the Atlanta Braves bullpen, even got a start when they called him up. Now he's also a top 100 guy. So a lot of really interesting roads to breakouts here. They're not, it's not necessarily somebody we weren't talking about to somebody we're talking about. It could be somebody we thought was pretty good. Now we think they're really, really good. How do you judge that? It's going to be up to you guys. But a lot of different viewpoints here. It's not just, getting X to Y and who did that best.
Best team is always a difficult category to decipher who among these groups should be recognized as the best team because they all had terrific seasons for one reason or another, and sometimes it's more clear-cut with individuals, and this is just a tough one to nail down. But our 10 worthy contenders this year, the Biloxi Shuckers, the best record in the Southern League, won both halves in their division in the Southern League in 2018. Midwest League champion Bowling Green Hot Wads, the Corpus Christi Hooks, and the Houston Astros organization who posted the most wins of any Double-A team. Tampa Bay Rays, second straight season winning the Governor's Cup. The Tampa Bay Rays AAA affiliate, the Durham Bulls, a nominee this year. Lakewood Blue Claws, the Philadelphia Phillies Class A affiliate, best ERA in the minor league ranks for any pitching staff. They also led the South Atlantic League in complete games and in saves. Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the Phillies AAA affiliate, division champions in their 2018 season, the Memphis Redbirds, who won the Pacific Coast League in the St. Louis Cardinals organization, and then avenged their 2017 loss in the AAA National Championship game by beating Durham in that contest. New Hampshire Fisher Cats, who were kind of reshaped over the course of the season with some deals that the Blue Jays made, and also what was going on with Vlad Guerrero, where he was going to be the injury, then the promotion. But the Blue Jays affiliate ended up winning the Eastern League title at the end of the season. Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, Los Angeles Dodgers affiliate at Class A Advance. They rolled through the California League playoffs and captured the league championship there. And finally, the Winston-Salem Dash, piloted by Omar Vizquel, best record in the Carolina League for the Chicago White Sox affiliate. Sam, this group, this is a tough category to vote on.
Yeah, and I usually start with winning percentage for these groups, and then the playoffs happen, and that certainly affects things. So maybe you're willing to give credit to the Memphis Redbirds, like you said, Tyler, for vanquishing Durham this year in the way they couldn't in the AAA National Championship game. Maybe you give it to Durham because they got back there and they lost top prospects in Willie Adames and Jake Bowers and still did really well. Maybe you give it to somebody like Bowling Green, who from beginning to end was just really, really solid all year and the only team in the minors to win 90 games. Maybe you don't because you decide, hey, this is a Class A team, not much competition there. If you get the right talent together, things can really click. I get that. Maybe you prefer one of the AAA teams who do, there's a lot of turnover at AAA, obviously, and it's almost more impressive, to me at least, when a AAA team can do well beginning to end, because the guys playing in that AAA National Championship game were not the guys on the opening day roster for either team. Jared Sandberg and Stubby Clapp would be the first ones to tell you that. So maybe you're impressed by that. It's again, so many different ways to define this, but those might be three of mine. I would say Durham, Memphis, and Bowling Green. Although shout out to New Hampshire, thankfully they did win an Eastern League championship, but I feel like they would have to get on there anyway, just because we did talk about them so much. They were incredibly interesting from beginning to end. Like I said, the fact that Biggio ended up being the EL MVP was really neat. Bo Bichette played a full year there. Vlad Jr. was the story of the first half when he was playing for the Fisher Cats. So lots of different ways to define best team, but 10 very worthy candidates here.
Best farm system, another one that's difficult, but this one's a really fun category to vote on. It's a fun category for us to debate. These are the 10 nominees: the Houston Astros, the Atlanta Braves, Toronto Blue Jays, St. Louis Cardinals, Los Angeles Dodgers, Philadelphia Phillies, San Diego Padres, Tampa Bay Rays, Minnesota Twins, and Chicago White Sox. You can't go wrong with most of these. Sam, what sticks out most to you about the deciding factors for this category?
Yeah, this one I feel like is something we have to always explain every year, because best farm system, usually the way we define it for MiLBYs is what farm system had the best year. It's not which has the most talent, which are we buying, to produce the most major league talent going forward. Although, there are a couple teams on here that fit that bill. The Atlanta Braves get a mention here for that. San Diego Padres are here for that. Chicago White Sox, Tampa Bay Rays. But which team produced winners at the team level? Which organization had the best overall winning percentage? Which this year was the Tampa Bay Rays. They not only had the best organizational winning percentage at 604, which would be good for an individual team, never mind an entire organization, which is insane. They won 2 championships between Bowling Green and Durham. Wander Franco had like we mentioned, a breakout year. They graduated Willie Adames. They graduate Jake Bowers. They have a breakout prospect, or he was actually the Offensive Player of the Year award nominee in Nate Lowe. Lots to like in that Tampa Bay system. San Diego Padres kind of similar, not necessarily the winning percentage, but I think they had 10 top 100 prospects right now. Maybe you're willing to give them credit for that. We like to define it as more of an overall award, just not what is the current state of the system. It's how did they perform in 2018. So that's one thing we want you to weigh. I don't want to push you in a certain direction, but I do want this to be an award for 2018, not just who has the most minor league talent.
So you can vote there as well for one of our final categories, non-video related. But we do have 3 video related categories. Our video categories: top defensive play, top home run, and best blooper. Those are fun ones because you get to waste some time at work, just don't tell anybody, watching all of these videos and then voting on your favorite. And top defensive play presented by Terminix in 2018. There are a lot of really, really good ones. Williams' studio and the Red Wings of Rochester turning a hood and ball trick for the second time in the season. A studio in Warwick Soppold were able to do that. The diving catch into the, well, I guess more of a lunging catch, but going into the stands. Eric Jenkins of the Down East Wood Ducks. I remember when that happened and we saw it on Twitter and initially requested it, and the video that we first got, I don't think had that catch, and then we were able to find another angle of it. He flips over a fence, comes back with a catch, and then fires a throw in, so he holds a runner. Like, that's a ridiculous play. Scott McGowan, a behind the back catch to keep a no-hitter going. There's some really good ones this year in top defensive play presented by Terminix.
Yeah, no, that's one of the fun things about the minor leagues is that anything can happen on any night. And when we were going through these, and our friend Kelsey Hannigan, she's kind of in charge of the video categories. So she came up with all of these, but there are so many similar ones that this is the real cream of the crop in terms of, like you said that Eric Jenkins catch. There are a lot of guys who have made catches over the wall this year. All of them impressive, no doubt. But the fact that he went over the wall, landed on his feet, and then had the peace of mind to throw it back in, kind of all in one motion is just really, really cool. And yeah, like Tyler mentioned, you could waste as much time at work, or if you're like us, you could be at work, and part of your job is to watch these videos over and over and over again. So we would definitely recommend you doing that and then voting for your favorite.
Do it. You can also vote for top home run and best blooper as well among the video categories. Photo of the year also is one of my favorite categories, which is up there right now. We'll cover promo of the year coming up in a little while with Benjamin Hill. The only other one that we didn't get to, two that we didn't get to, best performance and game of the year. You can read about those. We've got all the game stories linked from those ones as well, so you can go back and read through what those performances and games were like when they happened. And that is all up right now at MiLB.com/MiLBYs. You can vote in the 2018 MiLBY Awards. And it's one of our most entertaining times of the year for us, because we get to see all the engagement and people discussing this in their votes and the reasons why they select one thing over another. And then we get to be the ones to write the story looking back on either a moment or a season or what have you in 2018. And so it's pretty cool. So MiLB.com/MiLBYs. Get voting now. And now we'll shift to bring in a third member of this MiLBYs discussion. Benjamin Hill joins us in just a moment to discuss the promo of the year contenders and a whole lot more, as Ben gets set to dive into looking at some of the best on-field promotions, some of the things that didn't involve baseball, but some of the stuff that was the most highly thought of on the promo side in 2018. Benjamin Hill joins the show next. Well, as we discussed in Strike One, MiLBY Awards voting is underway in 2018, and Benjamin Hill is here to discuss the biggest category for kind of the business side of the MiLBY Awards, and that is promo of the year and a whole lot more. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Tyler, and hello, Sam. Sam is already shaking his head at me disapprovingly, like a parent who's upset at the behavior of his child, because I was blowing a big bubble and I was hoping it would pop as soon as you finished introducing to me. And then instead it just sort of petered out on its own accord, and Sam's looking at me disgustingly. Excuse me for a second, I'm going to throw this gum out.
Well, I should explain myself. I didn't know you were going for the popping noise. I thought you were going to just chew gum for the entirety of your segment on this audio podcast.
Yeah, ye of little faith. I'm a professional. I wouldn't do that. I was just trying to add some pop to the proceedings,
Of course, yeah. Tyler can add that in post. There will be a pop that we can assume just actually happened.
Yeah,
right.
That would have been a good Nat sound effect. Well, I'll have to search. I'll just throw in a whole bunch of random sound effects now. There'll be like a goat in the background, and then a car screech. Well, we already get enough car noise being in New York City with 2/3 of this podcast. Anyway, Ben, let's discuss the promo of the year nominees. There are 10 up for MiLBY voting at MiLB.com/MiLBYs, and they are all over the minor leagues from coast to coast, from level to level. Give us a breakdown of these nominees and kind of some of the highlights from these.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you guys are talking all about the MiLBYs, all sorts of things. The promo of the year category is one of the anomalies. Yeah, just in the same way that I'm an anomaly at this website, writing about the promotions and the things taking place off the field or not having to do with the players themselves. So the promo of the year MiLBY, we've been doing this for years and years at this point. We'll have to go all the way back to about a decade or so.
Longer than
I think before Sam was born even.
Well,
so
Yeah, probably.
yeah. But the format remains about the same. I'm responsible for compiling the finalists. I do, solicit input from others, both, from the teams who are looking to get nominated and just some, internal discussions. So I don't want people to think I'm just a one-man show in selecting this, but it is my burden at the end of the day to select these. And we got 10 nominees, and you can vote for them as the MiLBYs work.
One at a time.
Yeah, one at a time. And promos can be many things. In selecting the MiLBY Awards, we usually do like standalone promotions. So not like a between inning contest or, a strikeout player of the game type of thing. It's more like something a team did on like one night to make it special. And in some cases, it's a little bit recurring, but those are kind of the criteria there to make it more like standalone theme nights as opposed to just day-to-day recurring promotions. Anyway, enough talking here. But what do we got here? We got the Albuquerque Isotopes. I wanted to get one Copa de la Diversion team nominated for a promotion, and Albuquerque, the Mariachis de Nuevo Mexico.
Yeah, right. They got the acento.
Yeah. I went with that one as kind of representative of how successful the Copa identities were this year. But the very first game in Albuquerque where they played as the Mariachis, they set a franchise attendance record on Cinco de Mayo. So talk about coming out of the gate really strong. And, 16,795, that's a big crowd in minor league baseball. And, to come out that strong out the gate with a really great logo, obviously a lot of legwork done to connect with the Hispanic community, and obviously a community with a large Hispanic population, being in New Mexico after all. I thought the Albuquerque Isotopes deserved a nod for their role in Copa with the Mariachis. I also have the River Dogs, Charleston River Dogs. They're a team that seems to end up every year among the nominees with something or other. This year they did, if you guys remember, we had Nate,
we talked about this, right?
Nate Carant and Phillip, who's no longer with the team, Phil Geary, talk about this promotion. But the long and the short of it is Joseph P. Riley and the amazing Technicolor Ballpark. They took color packets like colored cornstarch and threw it all around the stadium during the seventh inning and created a huge mess. But truly, I think if you're buying into that experience, one of the most memorable things you're going to see at a ballpark.
And they had tie-dye grilled cheese. I mean, come on now. How often are you going to see that in places where the grilled cheese isn't 15 weeks old?
It's true. They did have tie-dye grilled cheese at the ballpark. We got Fresno, the Grizzlies. If you remember, they did the Coming to America promotion where they played as the Zamunda Lions. That one went viral. You probably remember that one. But tons of detail and tons of great stuff going on with that one. Frisco Rough Riders, Dude Perfect Night. Dude Perfect, the sports trick shot artists. They came to the ballpark, and they're based around the Frisco area. So some of the Dude Perfect baseball videos are already being filmed at Dr. Pepper Ballpark. But anyway, they drew a franchise record crowd for Dude Perfect Night. The Frisco Rough Riders, over 12,000 people. Yeah. That was interesting to me. Greensboro Grasshoppers did a fun one with the Royal Wedding, with the bobblehead of the Royal Couple, as well as, tea time at the stadium and Big Ben chiming at the start of every inning and choosing a local royal couple to honor in all sorts of ways at the ballpark. But a really well done, multifaceted theme night. The Lansing Lugnuts, they actually, at the promo seminar, they won the best theme night golden bobblehead for this one. And that the golden bobbleheads are voted on by people who work in the industry. But they did backyard baseball night with the Pablo Sanchez bobblehead. And we were talking before we went on air about how, for me and Tyler as well, backyard baseball was a little after our time, but obviously this promotion was hugely successful if you grew up playing that particular video game and enjoyed the slugging prowess of Pablo Sanchez, which I imagine you did, Sam?
Yes, I did. I was more of a Kenny Kawaguchi man myself. For anybody who knows Kenny Kawaguchi, he was the kid in the wheelchair, which was great. For some, like when you were playing on harder surfaces, he could just literally wheel around all the bases. But then when games you were playing in sand, it was unfortunate. But Kenny was like one of my favorite pitchers because his follow through wouldn't be to finish on his legs because he couldn't do that. He would wheel around twice. So every
Like
pitch
spin
throw,
around?
just swing around. Yeah,
That's cool.
He was also my kicker in backyard football because he would literally swing and hit his wheelchair with the football and still kick it 40 yards. So anyways,
so they were like crossover characters between those games.
Oh yeah, no, all the original kids were the same from game to game, but they had like individual players. So like Nomar Garciaparra was in backyard baseball, or I think Brett Favre may have been in backyard. Like they had, you could make mixes of original characters in MLB, NFL, NBA, whatever stars.
Huh.
So
that was like one step behind. I was saying before we started recording, you could tell what kind of the average age of voting was for this year's Golden Bobblehead, because that was like barely a step behind me in terms of my my video game progression throughout my youth. My best friend growing up, Travis Owen, his younger brother Ryan was like obsessed with backyard baseball, so it was like that next level of video game right behind us, which would be Sam, basically.
yeah.
So there, now you know Pablo Sanchez, everybody's hero.
Yeah, there you have it. I mean, I didn't see any team doing a bases loaded promo because that was my or maybe bases loaded 2, but that was my.
Nobody's done Ken Griffey Jr. baseball, to be honest. Like especially in Mariners affiliate, that's the greatest baseball game in the history of video games. Ken Griffey Jr. baseball for Super Nintendo, and I can't believe nobody has done that yet.
Well,
that I know of, anyway. There you
Wouldn't
go.
Would you have to get all those made-up players to sign for their rights and stuff?
Probably.
How would
You'd
that
have to
work?
get like B. Bridge from the Yankees because they didn't have an MLBPA license, so they just named everything after New York landmarks for the Yankees.
Yeah, Bases Loaded had a team from Jersey, and the Sluggers were Paste and Bay, and it was always like, oh man. And my brother would always play as Jersey. And beat me with Paste and Bay. 2 different players, but Paste was the real one. Like so, that's how old I am. I'd rather have a Paste bobblehead instead of Pablo Sanchez.
Sounds like it really stuck with you, Ben.
It really did. Yeah, Sam, it did.
Oh, what a Sam.
See, there we go.
Yeah. So anyway, that was one of the 10 nominees that we just spoke about, incidentally, for about 12 to 15 minutes. But also, Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, LV once LeBron, hashtag when they did the huge viral campaign to get LeBron to, mimic Michael Jordan and play a season in minor league baseball, specifically wanting LeBron to play on the Iron Pigs. That started with a billboard, but it went, progressed all the way to a night at the stadium, and got them a ton of attention.
Did the night at the stadium happen after he signed with the Lakers?
It was right around the signing deadline, and I can't remember the exact timing. If maybe he had signed with the Lakers a few days early at that point, I can't remember. The promo itself was designed to be right around the deadline,
like the opening of free agency in the NBA.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, not the deadline.
I just remember
the opening of that
being
period.
such a cool thing, and then it fizzled pretty quickly once he announced. Not that it was ever actually going to happen, but the Lakers, as they are wont to do, just took the fun so much out of it.
They did. They kind of ruined this one a little bit. The Iron Pigs had fun while it lasted. Another huge one. I expect this one to do well on the vote if I was guessing, but we'll let the voters decide. But the Deaf Awareness Night in Myrtle Beach, really cool promotion where they wore the American Sign Language jerseys and had Curtis Pride, a former outfielder who was deaf, out at the ballpark conducting skills clinic.
Immortalized in the Hall of Fame now, by the way. The Pelicans were posting about that last week. They had a jersey taken to Cooperstown last week and enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they brought that to exactly what you said, Tyler. They literally, members of the front office brought that jersey to Cooperstown because it had never been done before. And then, kind of coincidentally, we had a couple months later the Baltimore Orioles do the first ever Braille jersey.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, as far as I know, there was obviously it was just coincidental, the timing of those two things. But I think two things, one occurring the minors, one in the majors. But I think both set templates for promotions we're going to see in 2019 and beyond. But Pelicans did a great job with this one.
And this is one of those things that you don't have to worry about it being like, oh, it's not an original idea, we can't use this. Like, there are going to be people in every community who would love to see their local team like wear a Deaf Awareness.
Yeah, without a doubt. Future ones might not be nominated for MiLBY Awards or be talking about golden bobbleheads or going viral on the internet, but that doesn't really matter, as we've talked about before. What matters is that the community is something that they can respond to. The attention's great, and it helps beget more great promos, but I think we'll see a lot of that.
Yeah.
But there was so much sandlot nights in the minor leagues this season. It was the 25th anniversary of that classic baseball film, which I still haven't seen. But
didn't somebody send it to you?
Yeah,
Did a fan send you a DVD copy?
Ed in Fort Myers. I'm sorry, Ed. I still haven't watched it yet. I chose Potomac. This is already controversial online. The Salt Lake Bees are angry at me, and I don't want the Bees angry at me. I chose Potomac because they had squints at the ballpark, the bobblehead, the theme jersey, just kind of everything all in one. Bobblehead, theme jersey, celebrity guest, and some pretty unique between any contests and ballpark elements I hadn't seen in some of these other promotions, including a Babe Ruth forgery station, like a Babe Ruth signature forgery station, and fans could enter the Beast's backyard to search for home run balls.
That's great. That's something I love.
What I thought was interesting about it is it appears that they did the bobblehead of Chauncey Leopardi, the actor, as an adult and not Squints from the movie. Like, it's not cheesy looking 60s Squints. It's like the grown adult version of Squints. That I found to be an interesting twist.
That is a strange twist. I don't know what their motivation was on that, but it was unique. And there weren't too many teams. There's so many Sandlot nights, but not too many teams that had the sort of triple crown and then some of the jerseys, giveaways, celebrity guests, everything all in one. Shout out to the Salt Lake Bees. They had more cast members out for their promo than anything else, and maybe elements I'm missing. And that really does speak to, as you guys know, in any category, there's just going to be omissions, and it's easy to feel bad about it and feel but what can you do? Yeah,
if anything, if a team feels slighted, we're just giving them another chance to talk about their promotion.
Yeah, exactly. And feel free to at me, Ben's Biz, the one who ruined it for you, Salt Lake. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I like Salt Lake a lot. I don't want them to be mad. I don't want anyone to be mad at me. Anyway, one more promotion nominated, and then please go vote for the Promo of the Year MiLBY Award. But this was personally one of my favorite of the whole year. Syracuse Chiefs did the salute to the Brannick device, and we've talked about this one cool. throughout the season. And Paul Lucas from Uniwatch actually made a trip to the ballpark because the Brannick device is his favorite device, or his favorite thing.
Fandoms I've ever heard.
He has a tattoo of it.
Yeah, so the Brannick device, for those need of a refresher, was invented in Syracuse, and what it is the foot measuring tool that even if you don't know it's called the Brannick device, you've certainly seen one before.
You're already picturing it in your head.
Yeah, when you go to a shoe store of any kind, it's that what you measure your foot in.
Tool that you put your foot in, and somehow they tell you whether you're a 10.5 or an 11.
Yeah, it's ubiquitous, but anonymous, and I think that's what Paul Lucas likes about it so much with Uniwatch. But they actually, once this picked up, got some press coverage, got the Uniwatch interest, X, Y, and Z. The team then started adding elements to it where they actually had theme jerseys and they played as the devices. You talk about how bizarre theme jerseys have gotten in recent years and the things that the names that teams employ. But is there anyone just sort of weirder or more random or more truly unexpected than a team playing as the devices in honor of the Brannick device?
Yeah, I mean, we go to the trade show every year and they have just those, racks and racks of jerseys of here's what you could look like in a Star Wars jersey. Here's what you could look like in a Sandlot jersey, whatever. And it's just insert your team name here. I can't imagine they're going to have devices jerseys just lined up.
Probably not. It was invented in Syracuse, so probably a pretty limited market for Brannick device promos across the land. But if you want, the Chiefs set a template. And I think what they did really set a template for is thinking about the things in your market that are unique, that were invented there, famous residents, and how you can really blow that out and have fun with something that's a little absurd, but also that's something that speaks deeply to your region specifically. And I that's what I like about this so much.
I'm just saying I would like to see one other team try to pull this off. Try to thread the needle of we would also like to be the Brannick devices, and here's our the Everett Aquasox. I don't know. I just picked a team off the top of my head, but it's just so completely random.
You picked one of the few teams that kind of has a foot reference in its name.
I guess that's true.
Good point. That's true.
Yeah.
See, there you go, Everett. We've already come up with it for you.
Yeah, you wear your Aqua socks when you use the Brannick device. So bring it out to the West Coast, Everett, with your own Brannick device promotion in 2019. In the meantime, Syracuse is the only team that's done it. And those are the nominees. And they, presented in a slightly rambling fashion. But please, go to milb.com/milbys and click on the promo category. and vote for your favorites. And it's fun to just look at the nominees and relive all the great promos that happened in 2018 season, because it wasn't that long ago. And in the meantime, I'll be writing a story about the promo seminar and about Nate Corrant from Charleston River Dogs and his time at the seminar, and how his time at the seminar might lead to the devising a promotion that will be a big one in 2019. So I'll kind of follow the whole process throughout the offseason of developing a promotion. And it starts with the promo seminar itself, and there'll be a story, part one of a series debuting tomorrow on the website.
Do we know how many parts are going to be in that series?
We do not yet.
Is that dependent on Nate and Charleston?
Yeah, it depends on how this all develops, but I'd say between 3 and 5 parts. And potentially, ending with me going to Charleston to actually witness a promotion that I've been writing about through the off season in terms of how it develops. And but it all starts at the promo seminar in terms of networking with your peers and getting some ideas, and then seeing what it leads to. Cool is right, Sam.
Ben, what else is coming up? When we get to the end of the season every year, you kind of get a chance to go back through some of the stuff that you may have missed from road trips, and obviously preview stuff that's coming up over the off season. We know you're going to take a look at the process of promos for 2019. What else is on the docket for you?
Yeah, not too much. I mean, beyond what we've talked about already. And as I mentioned in previous weeks, whenever I have downtime, I'm going back and finishing all my on the road posts, all the little things I didn't get around to the first time. So there have been new posts appearing like pretty much every day this week. More detail on Augusta, on Charlotte coming soon, on Jacksonville. I wrote about those teams when I visited, of course, did some MiLB.com features, but on the blog, I've got like the full length, full treatment blog post, because it's important to me to do this in detail, especially with this milestone season of having been everywhere. I want to make sure every place gets the coverage, the full coverage, even if it takes me a while to finish it all off. So stay with me on the blog, bensbiz.mlblogs.com. It is still in season in my mind in terms of what I'm writing about, but it will all end soon.
Here's an idea. What if you watched The Sandlot and wrote about it?
I've actually had that idea, and maybe mentioning it right now. I partnered with Versus Cancer this year as a charitable element to my road trips. I was thinking about maybe saying like, okay, if I can raise X amount of money for Versus Cancer.
That's a great idea.
That is a good idea.
Watch The Sandlot, and not just watch it, but write about it in detail, like someone who's watching it for the first time in my late 30s, 25 years after the movie came out, and I will actually write a long essay about it. But I need to figure out the parameters of this this deal. And maybe and another thing we talked about last offseason that never happened, even try to do like a minor league baseball Twitter watching of The Sandlot, and just get people work in the front offices and broadcasters just to pick a day and to say like,
I'm down.
Throw it on, and people can live tweet it if they want. But whatever, we're all starting it at
exact same moment,
8:30 Eastern time, or whatever the case may be.
Like Earth Hour.
Yeah, yeah.
Sandlot night.
Yeah, Sandlot night. So there's some ideas here, but I think that is a fun off-season thing to do, maybe with a charitable tie-in, and maybe just something that will connect all of us across the country in our love of baseball and give us something fun to do. And, that's really what it's all about.
Benjamin Hill on Twitter at BensBiz. The blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com, and you can vote for the promo of the year at milb.com/milbys/promo, or you can just go to /milbys and you can check out all of the voting categories there. And Ben, cast your ballot. And do you even get to cast your ballot? You're an objective observer. You're just there to write about it.
That's right. It's the internet. I could anonymously cast some ballots, and but I don't. I hover above the fray and observe it all with a dispassionate eye.
We actually have software on Ben's computer to make sure he doesn't vote.
Monitor his voting.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that, but I didn't.
Company policy.
It is company policy. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Tyler, and thank you, Sam. My gum is in the trash, and I'm sorry.
So big thanks to Ben. He's on Twitter at BensBiz. And with that, we'll talk some baseball for the 181st episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. The Arizona Fall League is underway. We're recording this on Wednesday. Last night was opening night in the AFL, October 9th. 6 teams in the Arizona Fall League, each boasting players from 5 major league affiliates. The 2018 AFL roster ranking Sam had up on the site this week from his latest Toolshed column, and we'll talk about some of those as the segment rolls along. But when you look at the 2018 AFL, Sam, which is now underway, Vlad Guerrero is there. That's a huge thing. What stands out as the biggest storyline? Is it Vlad? Is it something else? What's the biggest storyline for the 2018 Fall League?
No, I feel like it has to be Vlad.
Yeah.
Just because that's, again, we talked about this before with Peter Alonso. Vlad, we thought, might have a chance to be in the majors at this point. Obviously didn't work out. Lots going into that in terms of service time, and the Blue Jays likely wanting to keep him around for an extra year and not wanting to start that clock. That's the way the system is set up. I get it. But at the end of the day, as I also mentioned earlier, he did only play 95 games. You still want him getting a couple more at bats. The AFL is exactly set up for this. But not only that, this is just another chapter in what's obviously been a special 2018 season for him. Just running past the numbers again, 381 average, was flirting with 400 going into mid-August, late August. Finished with a 1.073 OPS between rehab appearances in the GCL and FSL, and spending the bulk of the year at AA New Hampshire and AAA Buffalo. What can he do in the Fall League? We generally consider the Fall League to be the prospect finishing school. So this will be Vlad's chance to show just how dominant he is, and really a chance for him to show how wrong the Blue Jays were and not calling him up. At this point, the only test really for him out there is the major leagues, even though the Fall League is going to be filled with top prospects, guys like Forrest Whitley, some really, really good arms, a lot of high velocity, especially since they're throwing in shorter stints. Vlad's shown that he's been able to conquer this before, playing AA, playing AAA. The talent at the AFL is usually analogous to somewhere between AA and AAA, and he's already done so well against pitching like that. So I fully expect him to pick up right where he left off. He already did that. He got 3 hits and 3 RBIs in his opener. It seemed like no time had passed since he last appeared in a minor league game. I actually put up a poll yesterday. At one point, he had an OPS of exactly 1,000, and I asked people, do you think over the course of the AFL in the coming weeks, will his OPS be above 100, below, or above 1,000, below 1,000, or exactly 1,000? 83% of people said they thought it was going to be above 1,000, which is just crazy because that's something so rare that we see nowadays from our offensive hitters. And for that to be the expectation for Vlad in the coming weeks tells you, A, about his talent level, B, about just the expectation game with him, given who he is, who he's proven himself to be, and being the number 1 overall prospect in the game. Just how high can he ascend? Can he ascend any higher? If he were to hit 400 in the AFL, would we think about him even more highly than we do right now? Or if we were to hit 250, would we think any less of him? I don't know. That's what we'll have to keep watching here in the coming weeks. I'm excited that we get more Vlad. Again, I wish it was in the major leagues, but the fact that we're going to get 4 or 5 weeks of him it is exciting all the same.
You just get the feeling he'll probably have something to work on for 3 to 4 weeks at the start of next season in Buffalo. You just kind of get the feeling with top prospects these days there'll probably be just that one last thing to iron out at the start of the next season. The next topic is AFL campaign, Sam. And again, the AFL preview that Sam has up for Toolshed on the site ranks all 6 rosters in terms of their talent level, their top 100 prospects, and what to sort of expect from them. Who has the most to prove? Vlad, I think right now he has so much in hand already. The only thing Vlad, I think, could prove would be negative. If Vlad were to go out and for some reason lay an egg, and he had 3 hits in his debut, so I don't really see that happening, it seems like that's the only thing that we could see from Vlad that we're not really expecting, which is kind of remarkable. We just sort of expect that Vlad's going to go out and dominate wherever he is. Who has the most to prove, though, in the 2018 Fall League from your vantage point?
Yeah, I would almost even say Vlad has the least to prove.
Yeah.
He is a major league ready product. That nothing that happens over the coming weeks, barring a major injury, is going to change that. But that being said, I think most to prove is Monte Harrison, somebody we've talked about, a former top 100 guy, but he's actually dropped out of the top 100. MLB.com updated their top 100 just after the season ended. He moved out of it. Now the Miami Marlins, who we all know is a rebuilding franchise, don't have a top 100 prospect. They need more talent. They need the talent that they already have to grow in special ways. Harrison, this was his first full year as a Marlin, coming over from the Brewers last year in that Christian Yelich trade. And let's be honest, that trade already looks amazing from Milwaukee. But Harrison, spending all this year at Double-A Jacksonville, ended up leading all of the minor leagues in strikeouts with 215 in 136 games with the Jumbo Shrimp. Hit 240 with a 316 OBP, 399 slugging. Showed the raw tools were there. He ended up with 19 homers and 28 stolen bases. And that's exactly what he is again this year, is just raw talent. He's incredibly fast, has an incredible arm in the outfield, could play at center or right. I expect him to maybe get a little bit of time in each, probably more center. But the way the AFL works, there's so many center fielders, he might end up having to move to a corner for a little bit. But he has to show he's going to be able to make enough contact. Even the Marlins were saying, people were asking, why didn't he get bumped up to New Orleans this year, which seemed like a silly question because somebody who hit 240 with 200 plus strikeouts didn't exactly earn that chance. But why didn't he get there? And he has to improve his contact rate, and we feel like he did that as the season went on. Even August on to the end of the year, he was still striking out in 30% of his plate appearances, which is crazy. So, he's coming in here having to show that he is more than just a flashy, maybe fourth outfielder, that he can be a long-term solution for the Marlins. They already had a problem this year with Lewis Brinson, who looked like a potential 5-tool star, again, coming over from the Brewers, laying an egg in his first full major league season with the club. They can't afford these things to keep happening with the raw talent that they get in these trades. So Harrison, if he can improve his contact rate to even 25% strikeouts this fall league season, and still show really, really good speed and a lot of bat speed, a lot of power, he could be right back in that top 100 conversation. But that's a lot riding on just a couple weeks. And given the way his 2018 season went during the regular season, he's going to need to make every game count here before Thanksgiving.
One thing that I really like about the Toolshed team rankings, there is a wild card player listed for each roster, and it kind of ties in with our last topic for this season's AFL preview. You're under the radar pick, Sam. It seems like each roster probably has a handful of guys you could deem that, but who stands out above the rest as being an under the radar success? Seems like every year there's one or two guys who put themselves on the map in the fall league. Who is it in 2018?
Yeah, so I've got two. I'll give you a hitter and a pitcher. Actually, neither of them feature in the Toolshed, which you should still read because there are going to be tons of names, including Monte Harrison.
Doubly under the radar.
Doubly under the radar, yeah. Wild card I kind of thought of as somebody you might not be talking about right now, but could really, really do well. Under the radar is like especially, or like wild card. I don't know. Somebody who's not a top 100 guy, but is coming with something to prove. Under the radar is something some of these guys I don't think anybody's really talking about yet. One is Joe McCarthy in the Rays system. Only played 47 games this year at AAA Durham. Was dealing with a back injury for most of the year. So again, making him a kind of perfect AFL candidate. But has been a really interesting hitter, through his first 4 seasons in the Rays system. He was a 5th-round pick in 2015 out of Virginia. Usually a high OBP guy. He had a 409 OBP last year at AA Montgomery in 127 games. This year at Durham seemed like he's turned on the power a little bit. Ended up with a 513 slugging percentage and a 377 OBP. So kind of putting those two things together, hit 8 home runs, had a triple and 13 doubles in his 47 games. Almost half of his, or a little bit more than half of his actually, hits went for extra bases. So those are 22 extra base hits in 43 hits. If he can kind of put together a good fall league, show that it was more than just a small sample success during his time with Durham, I think that's somebody who could see his stock certainly go up here in the coming weeks. As we mentioned during the MiLBY segment, the Rays certainly have had a good 2018 season, and they certainly have a strong system. But right now, Joe McCarthy sits at 17, and the clock's ticking a little bit. He's already 24.
was a college pick. He's Rule 5 eligible this year. He's got something to prove here that he can push his way onto the 40-man roster. If he can carry a little bit of that slugging and on-base success that he showed it in the IL, I could see his stock certainly going up here in the coming weeks. And talking about Monte Harrison and how the Marlins really need some of these prospects to do well, another guy who came over in that Yelich deal was Jordan Yamamoto, who I really like this year. He had his own injury issues. I think he was dealing with a right shoulder impingement to start the year. So he ended up starting slow, didn't move to Jupiter, I think, until May. May 27th was his first start there, but posted a 1.55 ERA and 7 starts in the FSL. Posted a 2.12 ERA in 3 starts after moving up to AA Jacksonville. Ended the year with a 1.83 ERA, 85 strikeouts, and only 14 walks in 68 2/3 innings. He was pretty limited because of the shoulder issues, but now moving to the AFL, taking the reins off a little bit, but again going up against higher quality competition. That's the thing with him, is that he hasn't seen the upper levels really that much, only 3 starts at AA. If he can start going after some of these other hitters, showing that his control is going to play against more patient hitters, and also his stuff, which includes an above average curveball and kind of an okay fastball and okay change, if that's even going to play against AA and AAA level hitters, he's right now ranked number 16 with the Marlins, but he could become a top 10 player for them with a strong fall league as well. So those are 2 names to keep an eye on. We're going to be going over this for the weeks to come. We're not just putting this off to the side. We're doing roundups every day. Tyler mentioned he's got a story on Peter Alonso. We're going to be doing a lot of AFL coverage and storylines and day-to-day coverage. So this is just a preview for right now, but I can't wait to see what we learn just because baseball is back amongst minor league prospects.
In the Arizona Fall League, I feel like we talk about this every year, but if you have a chance to go to the AFL, it is maybe my favorite baseball thing. The atmosphere is just so different. It's so laid back. You're so close to elite level talent. It's the only place that you're going to watch Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with yourself and like 50 of your closest friends. Like the crowds aren't that big. It's just a really fascinating atmosphere, and it's an all-star game every day. I mean, these are the elite prospects from these teams that have all gone down to the Phoenix area for the Arizona Fall League. So if you get a chance, if you're down there, if you find yourself around Phoenix from now until really just before Thanksgiving, go for it. Check out some AFL games because it's one of the most unique and entertaining baseball atmospheres you'll ever find yourself in. And go read Toolshed. It's up on the site right now. You can get set for the 2018 AFL with all of the most pertinent information. And we'll be back to wrap up the show in just a moment. Good stuff as always, Sam. Nice work on the AFL preview.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. Wrapping it up next. Final segment of episode 181 of the Show Before the Show podcast. You can head to MiLB.com/MiLBYs right now and cast your ballot for the best of minor league baseball in 2018. Best offensive player, best starting pitcher, best team, best farm system, best defensive play of the year, presented by Terminix. We've got all kinds of good stuff up on the MiLBYs page right now, and you can cast your ballot for all of those categories. And also, go to MiLB.com and check out Sam's Toolshed column on the AFL, and that'll do it. I know there will be some AFL TV coverage as the season goes along on MLB.com. It's generally after the postseason ends, so if you are starved for prospect TV coverage, that'll be coming, but you have to wait through, the League Championship Series and the World Series before then. Unbelievable.
And let's just give a quick shout out as well to I think we talked about this last week. The organization All-Stars have started.
Yes.
We're continuing that rollout. I had the Boston Red Sox this week, so if you're a Red Sox fan who is looking for something to read in between the in between the end of the ALDS and the start of the ALCS, check out the site for that. Today, on Wednesday, we came out with Chicago White Sox. That was by Rob Terranova, featuring a lot of the names you're expecting and some of them you may not be. And then I think on Friday we have the Cincinnati Reds, which will be written by Kelsey Hennigan. So those will be continuing throughout the offseason, including through the AFL. So just because it's the offseason doesn't mean we're stop rolling stuff out.
That's all at MILB.com, and we'll wrap up this week's show. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mom. We'll talk to you next week.